Hello, my name is Kirtan, and if you watch till the end of this video, if you are a parent of a student, maybe in high school, that's who we work with, high school students and their parents. If your student is very lazy, if your student is a brat, if they're a bum, and you're concerned for the rest of their life because they're not applying themselves and they're not working hard, watch till the end of this video because I will show you how you can take them from lazy into a high performing beast. Okay? And what I'm going to show you right here, is exactly what we go over with our students that we coach in our coaching program, Sharp Education. This is how we take students from very lackluster performance into amazing students that everybody's inspired by. So in this video module, we'll go over how to motivate your child to perform better as a student. Now, if your child is unmotivated in school, maybe they're putting fun activities like video games over school, they're prioritizing that. Maybe they're in bed all the time and they're procrastinating on studying. Maybe they struggle to pay attention in class and if they feel school is not important for their future, keep watching. So before we go into anything else, I want to talk about this here. Little disclaimer and transparency from our side. We are recent graduates from university. We are not parents. We are recent graduates from university. We are not parents. And this is not parenting advice, nor is this intended to be parenting advice. This is coming from our own research and from a place of what it was like when I was a quote unquote bad student, and we are reflecting on what my parents could have done at the time to push my limits without me resenting them for it, right? So this is me reflecting on when I was a bad student in high school, what my parents could have done to push me without me hating them for it, or even kind of creating tears in the relationship, right? Because we want our students to achieve, but at what cost? Do we want them to be like hating us in the end? So that's the one thing. So before we go into the how, I do want to talk about some pre-existing beliefs super quick. People parents, at least I feel a lot of them have the wrong mindset when it comes to trying to teach their student, coach their student or kid. And I want to say that the number one necessary traits to have as a parent, or even as from on my end as a coach to these kids, are a growth mindset and patience. Now, overall, if you believe your child can improve, they will improve. And if you genuinely believe your child cannot improve, they won't improve. It is that simple. How is it that simple? It's the fact even applies, by the way, even applies with previous experience you had with the child as well. So maybe in the past, your child has always played video games and always put off academics for the past several years. And even if they have a pattern of doing that for the past several years, it doesn't mean they can't improve. Why is that? So according to modern science, the brain is developing until the mid-20s, sometimes even past the age 30. I personally believe the brain always develops till you die. Neuroplasticity, the brain is always changing, but even if you don't believe the brain can grow or you can grow at a certain age limit or something, at least take this at surface level or for what it is, right? Your brain can develop maybe past the age 30, around there, stops developing. So your student at that age always has the opportunity to learn new habits, new practices, new mindsets, and new paradigms, right? Paradigms is just a perspective or just a way of thinking, right? So if you are labeling your child as somebody who is an unmotivated student, a low performing student, or even somebody who has a learning disability, by the way, if you're labeling your child as somebody who has a learning disability, assuming you don't have legitimate proof that they have one, if you're saying your child has a focus problem and an attention problem, assuming you don't have legitimate proof that they actually have one, then you're inhibiting their future growth as they're still developing. Same thing if you're labeling them as an unmotivated student, you're inhibiting their future growth. If you are labeling them as a low performing student, you are inhibiting their future growth as their brain is still developing. So you're not encouraging them to get better and better and better. You're just saying, oh, this is who my child is. and this is what my child is going to be. No, they're still developing as a child, right? So, and here's the thing: even if it's true, like they don't have any motivation, they've given up on their academic success, or they've given up on college admissions, they procrastinate a lot, they do fun things over studies. It doesn't mean you should label them. It doesn't mean you should label them as this is who they are. So, accepting that they cannot grow is not only hurtful but also unproductive. It is not only hurtful, but is also unproductive. And on top of that, embracing a growth mindset requires constant education and learning. Most negative things that parents do not fall under the umbrella of being educational or instructive actions. So if a growth mindset requires constant education and learning, that means none of these are educational or instructive. Threatening your child is not educational or instructive. Nagging on your child is not educational or instructive. Motivating your child through guilt is not educational or instructive. And shutting off or letting your child deal with it themselves is not educational or instructive. None of the examples above, none of these examples, by definition, do not fall under the category of being educational and instructive. Maybe it can work in the short term, but our goal is to build long-term success. Our goal is not just getting an A on that upcoming test. Our goal is to build not just a high GPA in high school, by the way, and our goal is not getting into a dream university. Our goal is for our child to succeed in big goals in the future, and big goals require being consistent for long periods of time. So the above actions are manipulative and they're not conducive to building long-term consistency. Threatening is not something that is conducive to building long-term consistency. Motivating through guilt or any of these are not conducive to building long-term consistency. And even on your end, I guess think about it for yourself. If you were a child and you had a lot of work, would you rather be forced to perform well, or would you rather be inspired to perform well? Like seriously, if you believe you can't be inspired, keep watching, by the way. Keep watching. If you believe you cannot inspire a child, keep watching, by the way. And on a philosophical note, if you force, manipulate, or threaten your child, you will probably be resented and forgotten. Like your child will probably think, "Oh, my parents were like this. I don't ever want to think about my parents." But if you inspire your child, you will be remembered by them, and they will tell their kids about you in such a positive light. So let's talk about inspiration as we go on. But the other thing is, if we're labeling your child, everybody around you probably is also labeling your child as a low-performing student. Teachers, friends, classmates, counselors, meaning that if you as a parent don't believe in your child's growth and success, then who will? Who can you expect to believe in your child's growth more than yourself? Seriously, who do you expect me to believe in your child more than you, the parent? As I know this might sound ranty, and I apologize if I'm not being nice here, but as long as you're kind of understanding the meaning I'm trying to get through to your head, you have to believe in your child's growth, and you have to just use a growth mindset and patience. Now, before we move on, I need you to understand that if your child is currently a low-performing or an unmotivated student, I need you to decide that your child can grow into a high-performing and motivated student. Even if it doesn't look like that right now, you have to believe your child can change. You have to believe that your child can change, and you just need to enable them to change. That is it. That is it. Now, and actually no, not change. You can inspire your child to grow. You need to believe that you can inspire your child to grow. And I will talk about this. Now, inspiring, not requiring. I learned about this through my research, and I came across a parenting coach. Her name is Nicolene Peck. She's a beast, right? And she says if you require your child to do the work or study or complete work on a daily basis, they would not learn to love learning. However, if you inspire your child to love learning through their work, then they will feel compelled to keep coming back to the work and performing on the work because they find joy in it. Now, if the work or if the learning feels inspirational, and if it feels like something fun, and if it feels like something in which the student feels like their brain is growing, then they'd be inspired and motivated to want to put some of their own time and effort without your push. Again, as long as if they feel inspired, they'll be going after it. But I also understand that your student won't feel motivated on a daily basis, and sometimes they're assigned boring worksheets or assignments from boring subjects that won't inspire them. Heck, it won't probably inspire me, and it probably won't inspire you either, right? And if your child comes home from school with things that seem meaningless or not motivating to them, don't Nicolene says, don't just sit them there staring at the assignment like a plate of food that they don't like. What you need to do is just sit down with them and get it done quickly. Get it done with them quickly. Talk it through with them as you're doing it. And try to bring some energy while you guys are working on the homework together. You guys can even bond about how boring the homework is. Just talk about each other as you're doing the homework. Yeah, this boring. This homework is so boring. Let's try to get it out of the way as soon as possible. Like, make it a connective moment between you and your child, because your connection to them is the most powerful thing. Your child will associate the connective and energetic moments you have with them, which will encourage them to bring their energy even towards boring assignments as well. So even the overall lesson is, even if they have boring things that they don't want to do, try to sit down and make it a connective moment with them, and your child will actually love the time with you to learn. Now, another thing I want to talk about is what to do versus want to do's versus have to do's, right? So often students feel stress from work that has deadlines and urgency from short time periods to complete the given work. And when students feel stress, anxiety, and overwhelm, their brains completely shut off, right? So if your child is feeling some stress or overwhelm or anxiety, their brains are shut off. And when they're in that state, it can feel tempting to pressure students to complete their academic work before they want to socialize and do other fun activities. However, their brains are anyway shut off, meaning that doing the schoolwork in the state that they're in will always take longer because their brains are shut off, right? So during moments like this, one, make sure you let them recharge. Make sure let them go out with a few friends, or even let them play a video game. And even better, if you can maybe do something like a multiplayer video game and you and your child can play the video game together, right? Are bonus points if you can encourage your child to recharge with a learning-based activity. Maybe you both are building Legos, solving a puzzle, or taking a painting class, right? It doesn't matter what your child is learning, as long as even it doesn't matter if your child is learning things that are unrelated to academics, as growth focus in one area will contribute to growth in other areas. This is also why, I guess, to relate it a little bit more, this is also why some of the best executives in the professional workplace engage in personal hobbies unrelated to their specialization in the workplace, like arts, music, or recreational sports. In the book, I love this book, by the way, Change or Die by Alan Dutchman. This is what the cover looks like if you want to give it a read. It mentions that people mistake being active for continuous learning. For example, the book talks about this example. If you are a senior tax partner at a large corporate law firm, then reading the latest journal articles about the tax code isn't what should be considered as learning. The law partner is already an expert, and real learning may come from taking something completely different, unrelated to tax or law, like beginner's lessons in skiing or hip-hop dancing, or figure skating, for example, right? And the idea is to completely escape from your expertise, or in this case, from your child's academia, and become a novice in an entirely different pursuit, right? And you'll know if your student is learning something truly new and different if it feels really hard in the beginning and they are constantly making mistakes. AKA, if your student feels like an idiot until they get better at it, they're in the right track. They're in the right track. For example, if they're taking guitar lessons for the first time and they feel like they can't get the notes right on the guitar and they feel like an idiot, that's a good thing, by the way. That means their brain is expanding. So overall, don't be afraid to let your child engage in other activities as well, as long as if they can consistently put themselves back in a state of a beginner's mindset. This is why learning a new language is so powerful a lot of the times, according to the book, right? It can, I guess, for the lack of a better way of saying it, your growth is capped sometimes. Like you might know so much about a subject, or you might know so much about a skill or an expertise, and you feel like you can't get better. But then once you get back to a beginner's mindset in something else, then that growth handicap goes away, and you can actually get even better than the original specialization you're in, right? Just like the senior tax partner at the law firm, they might feel like they can't get better at their work, right? But then when they get back to a completely different skill set, their growth actually skyrockets. So let them try other hobbies that are unrelated to their academia. It helps so much. Now, another thing is academic coaching I want to talk about. So that's kind of what we also try to do within Sharp Education. If students come to us, like our goal is to make sure students get into the top universities. And if students come to us, and sometimes there are low performers, right? We kind of try to academically coach them, but you don't need us. You can even just get academic coaching on your own, right? It doesn't have to be through us. And this is, first of all, this is assuming you have the ability to financially invest in your child. Consider getting them an academic coach, right? And I use the word coach, not tutor, specifically for a reason. Now, tutors can play an important role, and I'm not here to downplay their importance. At the same time, tutors help to teach skills, while coaches help to build self-reliance. At least that's what I learned from my expertise, my experience with coaches. When I was in undergraduate university at the University of Southern California, USC, they had a free academic coaching service available. The coach, she wasn't directly teaching me. Her name's Ashlyn, by the way. Shout out Ashlyn. She's awesome. If you're watching this, Ashlyn, you're awesome. Ashlyn wasn't directly teaching me how to study for my microeconomics class, for example, but rather she's checking, how am I studying? Am I organized with my work schedule? Am I organized with studying, making sure I have clear goals for myself? And she checks back in the next week. How is the progress on the goals? Why aren't we achieving the goals yet, right? And this is like the difference between tutoring and coaching, for example, right? I found this on the academic coaching services website Beyond Booksmart. Tutors, I'm not going to go through this, but the basic premise, if you want to pause the video and read this chart, is that if your student is motivated on their own, but they need support specifically in one subject area, then consider a tutor. So if your student is self-motivated, if they feel like they're already on the right track, but just this one subject is not clicking for them for some reason, consider a tutor. But you're probably watching this video because your child is probably lazy, unmotivated, low performing, right? And if they need to become completely different, then consider talking to an academic coach. Then consider talking to an academic coach, right? And academic coaches are great at keeping students accountable without any awkwardness, and they help children to become more motivated and perform well and improve any necessary traits related to their academic performance. This can include things like study habits. This can include things like test-taking strategies. This can include things like how to make sure you're taking the right notes in classes, how to make sure you're focused in classes as well. And in the end, a coach's goals are the child's goals and your goals as well. So if you have the financial ability to invest in academic coaching, I would strongly suggest it, right? And another note I want to kind of talk about is that, according to the book, again, Change or Die, the first step towards change, the key threes in change in the book are relate, repeat, and reframe. The first key, relate, is about forming a new relationship if you want to change, right? Your child needs to form a new relationship with somebody that inspires hope and growth for your child. Ideally, your child should be talking to somebody who is already unmotivated in the past and they changed themselves, right? A lot of the academic coaches are like that, and they've had experience changing students from unmotivated to high performers, right? And if your child has a session with an academic coach and your child wasn't really inspired or energized by the session, and the takeaway isn't that academic coaches don't work. Rather, your child is just suggesting that that coach wasn't the right person for your child and you should look for a different coach. It's that simple. If coach A doesn't work, go to coach B. It's that simple, right? So I can't recommend academic coaching enough. I've used academic coaching, as I said, with Ashlyn back at USC, and I am a huge advocate for academic coaching. Now, last thing I want to talk about before I close off this video is empathy. And as I stated earlier in the video, in the beginning of the video, I am not a parent. So I can only imagine what my parents could have done. And the way I'm able to do that is through empathizing with them, right? The only way I'm able to imagine what my parents could have done is by empathizing with them. So whether you feel frustrated, angry, or turned off by your child's low drive and motivation, I need you to try empathizing them for a second, because genuinely put yourself in their shoes and think, is there any information that they don't know that could help them perform better? Are they engaged in habits that are turning off their motivation? Are they thinking about things incorrectly? And also ask yourself why. Why does my child think this way, right? And don't ask these questions to you or your child with an attitude of frustration, resentment, or anger. That's only going to make it worse, and you're going to be distanced from your child, right? Ask them with genuine curiosity. Ask them with an interest to understand your child better. Ask them with an attitude of, I want to connect with you and have a better relationship with you. And this is why I'm asking those questions, right? I just want to learn about you better. So Dr. Dean Ornish, it was a case study in the book about Dean Ornish was like somebody who took heart disease patients because of their bad physical habits in the past, which is why they've had heart disease and multiple heart surgeries, took them through this kind of it's been a minute since I reviewed the book. Dr. Dean Ornish took them through some kind of why isn't it on my mind? It's this kind of like incubator, this type of like community in which they engaged in healthy practices like vegetarianism, yoga, meditation, and then the heart disease patients didn't need surgery anymore, because these habits that changed them and made them more healthy overshadowed everything that the surgery could have even done, right? And the reason why they were getting surgery in the first place is because of their bad habits in the first place. And Dr. Ornish inspired them to get rid of those bad habits as well. And Dr. Dean Ornish says people don't resist change, they resist being changed. So if you're trying to change your child, then your child is going to get turned off by it. But if your child is inspired to change themselves, then they will. So if you are inspiring your child, and if your child feels inspired, actually, no, it's not only if you're inspiring your child, it's also a matter of, does your child feel inspired by you, and why or why not, right? So the only way to even answer that question, or to even help someone change in the first place, is to fully understand them first. You need to understand your child first and empathize with your child first, so you can make sure they are doing the right things, right? Think about it from their perspective all the time. Maybe there are things that are not helping them and they don't realize it. And you don't want to tell them in an attitude of you should. You don't ever want to tell them you should. It would probably be better to say, I would prefer if you X rather than Y because of X, because of Z. I don't know. And I'm not a parent. This whole thing was just like, maybe just kind of research I came across. Hopefully it inspires a couple of parents watching this. And I asked some questions in the comments. I would love to answer if there are any questions in the comments regarding this topic. So that being said, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Please consider giving a like or subscribe, and maybe watching other videos from the channel as well. In the end, I just want to help people grow, help people achieve academic, career, and professional goals, especially students, right? This is what we're here to do, and especially help your child get even better as well. So thank you so much for watching this video, and take care.